Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night News. I am Joe Compton, and look, the gang is back together.
Turn. So yes, I'm Venessa Giunta. I had to take last month off because I was at a convention. So yes, I felt
So,
awful abandoning you, Joe.
oh, it's all good. It's all good. It was fine. We got through it. We cried a little bit, but we got through it. So it's all
Yeah.
good.
So yes, and so to apologize to everybody, we're going to talk about politics.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, this is
Hey,
your pseudo trigger warning slash we don't give a fuck if you're offended. Uh, as we're going to lay it out, and it's time. It's time for us to speak up about why this is so important to authors, and we've got a plethora of ideas and things that are going on that are going to apply directly to the authoring community in terms of what is going on in our country. And so I'm going to let Venessa lay all that out, and here it is, everybody. So strap on in. Here we go.
Yes. So, yes, in today's show, we're going to talk about how our current political climate is and can potentially affect indie creators. So, Trump's policy. So, just as a heads up, well, let me get through this first. Trump's policies are creating turmoil, which affects indies, and the reaction to his policies also affects indies. So let's break this down. First, this is not an exhaustive list. I did not want to keep you here all night talking about this awful stuff. So this is just a few things, and it's a starting point. And also, this is primarily US centric in position, but because there are a lot of authors and creatives outside the US who then sell in the US, this is also going to affect you to some extent as well. All right. Here we go. So by now, you know that Trump has instituted tariffs on both Canada and Mexico. Well, they're kind of on pause right now. But Canada and Mexico, who are our trading partners, because that's a great way. That's a great way to handle your friends. So here in the U.S., I mean everywhere, but specifically these tariffs that are being applied to Canadian and Mexican and also Chinese imports, these tariffs are a tax on us here in the U.S., not on the country on which the tariffs are levied. The tariffs by nature are protective, not punitive. Sanctions are punitive, right? The purpose of a tariff is to protect a specific US industry from cheaper foreign goods. But that's not how they're being used by the current administration. They're being used as not even punitively, although that is how he's framing it. They're actually being used as a bludgeon. They're being used as intimidation. Um, but as I said, as of this broadcast, the tariffs are paused for a couple weeks, who knows how long, leaving everyone unsure as to when these higher costs are going to hit. Now, the traditional publishing world has more to worry about in this regard because it's not uncommon for them to use printers in China or Mexico. And it's unclear whether US printers have the resources and the infrastructure to step in to fill that gap. But all of that part is unlikely to be an issue for a typical indie author. But what will be a problem for us is that the cost of print on demand is going to increase. Why? The United States is the second largest global importer of paper and wood pulp, and our biggest supplier is our friends to the north, Canada. Canada is also the country from which we acquire more than 50% of the wood we use in construction of homes, of infrastructure, of other buildings, retail buildings, and things like that. Trump intends to allow logging in our national parks in order to offset this lack, of imported wood or the expense of the wood being imported. I won't delve into what a horrid idea it is to log on our national parks. I imagine you already imagine that, you already can envision that. But either way, it's unlikely that even this logging is going to make up the deficit for both the construction wood that we need and the $2 billion paper and wood pulp that we import from Canada annually. All of this means that it's unlikely we're going to avoid the 25% increase in book printing costs. So that is one piece. Another piece that is different and not about cost so much as it is about freedom of speech, federal grants. Here in the US, we have a few nationally funded grants for artists of all types. The main grants are overseen and distributed by the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities. Now, Trump's administration has changed the guidance, and not a lot of people know this. Trump's administration has changed the guidance for applicants to these grants, requiring them to, quote, comply with all applicable executive orders while the award is being administered. So what does this mean? Well, we're not sure yet, to be quite honest. But Publishers Weekly reached out to representatives of the NEA multiple times for clarification, but they didn't respond to the request for comment on which executive orders were applicable to grantees outside of 3 specifically mentioned, all of which fall under diversity, equity, and inclusion and LGBTQ plus initiatives. Quote, in theory, the new strictures could prohibit any publisher with a book in print featuring a transgender character, or even including the words Gulf of Mexico, from receiving federal grant funding. Well, this won't affect most indie creators because most of us who are individual authors working in our author business, most of us don't apply for NEA grants or NEH grants, but it can affect not-for-profit publishers, film studios, other creative and academic organizations which rely on federal funds from these 2 associations. Requiring these organizations to adhere to the belief system of the administration has the potential to turn federally funded creative programs into mouthpieces for government propaganda. So this is a first step, and it's dangerous. We have to be careful. So how do we fight back? So there are a couple things going on. The overall favoring of billionaires over ordinary Americans by the Trump administration has created the reaction by ordinary folks of boycotting various stores and corporations. You may have heard about this. Target, Walmart, Amazon. If you spent any time on social media, specifically in the book and author areas of social media, you'll have seen calls to boycott Amazon in terms of book buying in favor of places like bookshop.org, which partners with indie bookstores, and your local library. Please support your local library. But you've also probably seen authors imploring readers not to cancel their Kindle Unlimited account. For those who don't know, Kindle Unlimited is a program that allows you to pay a certain amount of money every month, something like $15, and then you can read as many books as you can read in that month that are in Kindle Unlimited. The problem with canceling your KU account is that Amazon doesn't lose anything if readers cancel KU because it's a loss leader for them. They don't make money on that because Amazon authors get paid by the page read, and many readers who utilize KU read way more than the $15 that they're paying every month. So this is a loss leader for Amazon. They don't care whether you cancel your account, but the authors are the ones primarily affected by this aspect of the boycott. Authors will bear the brunt of this boycott. So please keep that in mind. I absolutely 100% support, boycotting Amazon for everything else, but maybe not Kindle Unlimited. All right. Another way you can fight back is by supporting unions. So just this week, the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, whew, that's a mouthful, announced that Barnes & Noble employees in 3 New York City locations have ratified their first union contracts. Their 3-year contract covers increased minimum wage, building up to $21 an hour by the end of the contract, by the end of the 3 years. It also includes healthcare and safety requirements for workers. Unions are the number one way for workers to fight for their rights within any corporation. So, and since most of the big corporations are owned by billionaires at this point, this is the only way workers can effectively fight them from within the workplace. So please support your unions, and do not cross picket lines. Do not cross striking members. I don't think we have any major strikes going on right now. All right, another way that we can handle this is protests. Now, dozens and dozens of protests. You may not know this, but we've had dozens and dozens of protests this year all over the country. All over the country, even all over the world. We're not the only ones protesting. Our social media companies that are owned by billionaires are suppressing a lot of this information, but it has been happening. As a matter of fact, here in the US, there's at least one every week. Sometimes there's more than one every week in different parts of the country, across the country. There are several organizations putting together protests, but one I particularly like is the 50501 5051 movement. It's 50 states, 50 protests, one movement. They stress nonviolent, peaceful protests. You can search for protests in your area for their website, which is www.5050.one. So ONE is like where the .com would be. Or you can just search Google for 50501, and it'll be the first thing that comes up. But many creatives are an introvert. Maybe you don't want to go out with a whole bunch of people you don't know, and that's okay, but that doesn't mean you can't help, especially in terms of these executive orders and the proposed legislations and the federal changes that are happening. Call your representatives, go to town halls, make your voice heard. There's an app that makes it easy, and I promise I'm not shilling for this app. I don't get anything for telling you about it. It's called 5 Calls. It's literally the number 5 and calls with no space. Google it, you'll find it. It's an app you can put on your phone, or you can use their website. On the phone app, it will let you put in your zip code. It'll tell you who your representatives are. It will let you hit a button to call them. It even has scripts that you can read from. If you're not sure what to say, if being on the phone, because I don't like being on the phone. I don't know about y'all, but I don't like to talk to people on the phone that I don't already know, and sometimes I don't even want to talk to people I already know. But this is important. And also, representatives aren't paying much attention to emails or even snail mail letters anymore because they're just getting so much. So it's been found that calling is the most effective, even if you call after hours and just leave a voicemail. You can do that too. You don't actually have to talk to someone. But they have scripts for many topics of concern, including tariffs, the proposed dismantling of the Department of Education that Trump is supposed to be signing an executive order for sometime in the next week or so, the gutting of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, etc. Now, they don't have a script for the NEA or the NEH, so you're going to have to figure that one out yourself if you want to talk to your reps about that. But that is an option, and I highly recommend the 5 Calls app. All right, I got through that a lot faster than I thought I would, y'all.
Yeah, you did. Take a break. Let me hit on some of these things for everybody here. So
let's talk about it.
First and foremost, something else that's important to note as well, because my father was in the printing business for 30 years, so I know a lot about what it takes to actually make something printable, and something that hasn't been talked about a lot, which is kind of odd, and it makes me think maybe we're getting our ink somewhere else now. But back in the day when I used to work in his print shop in the summer times, because that's how I made money to buy a car, I was only allowed to do whatever I could work wise to make money. I was not given money, and we weren't that rich,
Mhm.
so I had to work for it. Um, and so I would work in his print shops every summer during high school. And one of the things that is notable is that the ink that gets printed that uses the color inks comes from Mexico. So that's a part
Oh, I didn't
of
know
something
that.
that might enrich tariffs as well, and might be important for people to know. Now, black ink is pretty easy to manufacture. It's not. These are more the colors and the rainbow colored
Mhm.
ink and things like that, because they mix dyes and things that come like. If you've ever been to Mexico and you've seen like the rugs that people sell on the sidewalks and in shops and stuff like that, those are used by they're used by natural dyes that they've created, and a lot of print shops use those dyes. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm not sure, it's not being mentioned much, so maybe we figured out a way to make our own dye at this point. I don't know. Could be, but that's something to keep in mind too. I also think not only will print on demand go up, but I think the demand for uh, shipping the retail books to places is going to go
Mhm.
up as well, because I think that the tariffs, especially if you're shipping to Canada or Mexico or somewhere, if you're going across the seas, maybe you're going to be at the Berlin Writing Festival or something like that, right? You have to ship it out there. It's gonna get taxed coming back, right? So it's gonna get tariffed coming back. So because it's an export,
Yep.
so keeping that in mind as well. So these are all things that are going to affect indie authors who do a
Mhm.
lot of events and do a lot of things, right? Um, and I think also, I'm trying to think of all the things that we touched on. Yeah, uh, as far as um, these what's going on with a lot of this too is that the Authors Guild is ahead of a lot of this as well, and
Mhm.
spearheading a lot of causes. If you've ever not been a member of the Authors Guild, now would be a time to do it. And Ally as well. Ally is also connected to the Authors Guild. They're actually, they're not one and the same, but they're
Partner.
one A, one B,
Right.
right?
They're
So,
partnered.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a member of Ally, you can also get with the Authors Guild
Mhm.
and merge yourself into that aspect. But the Authors Guild is highlighting protests across the country as well, where and
Mhm.
then having library days for authors and things of that nature. Now, there's truly supporting traditional authors at this point, but indie authors can get involved in that too. And it's not, if you're in a smaller town where they don't have a Matt Denneman or somebody of that ilk who would go to those things, right? You might be the most famous author in your town, so get on that and go and support that, because those are all getting broadcast in the news. Authors Guild is doing a really great job. If you go to YouTube and you can watch all these videos. Authors Guild is really in front of it right now, putting out there the message that, hey, look, this is an important thing, that we're leaving education behind, not only with the effects of the Board of Education aspect of things that Trump is dealing
Department
with.
of Education.
Yeah,
Yep.
but also the idea that it's not as important to be reading anymore, and that
Mhm.
is the message that the Authors Guild wants to
Yeah.
kill as fast as possible.
The
And
anti
also,
the anti the anti-intellectualism in this country is frightening. It's
yeah, and also
frightening.
and also the banning of books and things like that is going to come
Mhm.
back rampant. Trust me, by the end of the year, we're going to be talking a lot about banning books and things of that nature, because
They're
that
banning Anne Frank, for fuck's sake.
yeah, yeah. So those are
Sorry.
really important points. And grants also, anybody who's ever applied for a grant knows what a horrible process that is to begin with. Now it's even
Mhm.
worse. So it's really, these are
Yeah, that's it.
horrible acts that are happening in our country, that whether, and you can talk about the politics of this and everything and that aspect of it, but these are facts. This is not something that I'm talking like this is a Democrat or a Republican thing. Democrats have been as guilty of this as much as anybody, because the grant process is so
Mhm.
terrible to run through it, right? but I mean, at least they're supporting the arts at least. But
Yeah, I
yeah, and
don't
then
think it's the same.
right,
I
right,
mean,
right,
yes, red tape is a pain in the ass, but
right,
that's not the same as saying
right.
you
No, no,
cannot write
no,
about
and that's not what I
any
mean. That's not. I mean,
LGBTQ stuff. No, I
mm,
know you don't. I know you're not. I know that's not what you mean. But like, I just get really tired of both sides of the same. And
no,
it's like, no,
no, no,
they're
no.
not.
There's a vast
So,
difference, but there
yeah.
is guilt to be had on both sides
Oh,
of it.
sure. Yeah,
You know,
100%.
um,
I can get on board with that.
but also the whole idea that okay, so the NEA is in a lot of trouble right now. Trump has already appointed
Mhm.
himself the chairman of the Kennedy Center for the Arts, and
Yes.
that in itself is a troubling
And
aspect.
fired and like got rid of most of the board.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's a troubling
Yes.
aspect of things because that will destroy the diversity and all of the POC work we've done and all the work we've done with diversity as independent authors. So I think for us as indies, right now the most important thing is to make sure that the voices that need to be heard are heard, and that I think
Mhm.
that is super important. And we need to we need to unselfishly, myself. I'm speaking for myself. I'm unselfishly stepping aside to allow these voices to be heard a lot more and promoting those voices over you know typical voices that might be heard a lot easier in this country
Mhm.
because right now those voices are going to get muted and tampered down, and we need to band together and do that. It's only it's not saying you can't promote your own stuff. You can't be successful yourself, and I'm not saying that
You should.
we're
Yeah.
not and we're not sacrificing ourselves, but we are sacrificing a little bit of humility and just being decent people. Let's show the world we're
Mhm.
decent people for
But
once.
I also think we have to come together. We have to in it. So as a white woman, one of the things I absolutely try to do is not talk over people. Like my threads feed is probably something like 65% black women because I mean I've got a whole bunch of queer folks in there. I've got like I just follow all kinds of stuff. And if y'all are on threads and you're not following the Lake Lanier threads, okay, you I can't even. Anyway, it has nothing to do with this topic, but there's whoever runs that social media, because Lake Lanier is a lake here in the Atlanta area and it's purported to be haunted. And so like whoever's doing this is absolutely a horror fan. It is awesome. Anyway, so in addition to that, I have a lot of black women, and one of the things I do is read. And like I have a lot of black authors that I follow and stuff like that. And I try to read without, and I'll chime in to a conversation if I feel like
Mhm.
it's a space for me to, but
Mhm.
mostly I read. And I think that's really important because I think I have to learn about other minorities. I mean, I'm a minority myself, but my marginalization is much different
Mhm.
than their marginalization. So I want to learn in the same way that I mean, I've been part of the queer community for since I was in high school. Um, and so like I already know a lot of that struggle because like I was marching on Washington back in the 90s and stuff like that. um so but like definitely the BIPOC community is a community I don't know about. So part of what I'm trying to do to help lift up the people's voices that are being quashed right now is, in addition to creating space, which I think is super important, is that I'm listening
Mhm.
and I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to figure out how I contribute to those things and unlearn that bit. But I'm really kind of this thing. I want to circle back to the NEA. And for those who are just joining us, we talked earlier about the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities. Their guidelines to apply for those grants have been changed to say that basically if you do anything against Trump's current executive orders, you will not get the grant. You'll automatically be denied. And so they only want people getting the grant who are people who are going to amplify their message. And
Mhm.
that is terrifying.
Yeah.
That is terrifying, because that is the first step to like so much propaganda, like so much government propaganda in the arts, you know? And it's, I mean, it's just like the first step down this path of censorship and, you know, you must have government approval to do your art. So it's awful. I'm terrified.
Mhm.
And hello, people.
Yeah, we have Anita and Deborah and Rye here. So
Yes.
um,
Nice
uh,
to see you all.
all fans
But
of what we're doing. But yeah,
I do think the key is to come together. And that's why one of the, you know, I really wanted to talk about like the protests and the 5 calls and stuff like that, because you don't have to do anything big. If that's not what you have the spoons for, if that's not what you have the space in your life for, that's okay. Do what you can. Don't try to, you know, don't try to do like the most. It's okay if you can't. Do what you feel like you can. If you can make one phone call today or tomorrow and, you know, call a rep and say, hey, you know, I disagree with this vote you did, or I thank you for voting the way you did, or whatever it is. Do that. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you're listening. You don't even have to actually talk to anybody. You can call like right now when they're closed and leave a voicemail. There are people who literally do that. They're like, I'm not talking to a human being on the telephone. Are you insane? And so they will call when they know that the office is closed. You know, reach out to your BIPOC, queer, trans, author friends, creative friends, or just friends. Check on them. Check on them, because they're not okay. We're not okay. You
yes.
know, reach out to the women in your life, because we're not okay, you know? And even if it's just like, hey, I was thinking of you, let me know if you need anything, or can I do anything for you? Or, hey, you want to chat for a minute? Just knowing that there's support is a big deal. And I really think coming together is, I think really that's what's going to be the key.
It's important for me. It's important to let people know that I care
Mhm.
about them and that I love them and that and I, as a cis white male who is not so much in the line of fire or is,
You're
you
the
know,
least in danger of all of us.
right. But I think I am taking it very hard, you know. And
Mhm.
for me personally, I think what you said is right on. Listen, I just listen. I'm just here to listen. I'm here to be the person that's going to listen to you, let you say what you need to say if you want to say something. If you don't want to say something, if you want to say something in private, you know, I'm here. I'm available to do that, that's just all I want from my friends, and to protect my friends. And we're doing this tonight because I feel like it's important that people know what's going on in our community. We need to come together right now and stamp this out as fast as possible, or at least put our name on something that will help stamp this out. And so that's why I thought this was very important tonight to do. And so appreciate that. And thank you, Vanessa, for bearing the brunt of saying all of the things tonight.
I have no problem saying all the things. There
But
are many things I did not say, you'll note.
yes, but I just you know, you're not alone out there, and I wanted people not to
Mhm.
feel like that tonight, and we'll do the best we can to keep these stories going and put them out there for everybody, so that if you didn't know what's going on, you have some idea and where you can go to make your voice heard if in case you want, because there are still places to do that right now, and we
Mhm.
need to keep those going and keep those fresh. So that's the plan. And so this year might be a weird year for Going Now and for late night news. But you know, if you don't like what
Let's
we're
just all
doing,
say,
yeah,
let's just all agree that this timeline just sucks. Like the timeline fucking sucks. I'm
absolutely.
telling you, I absolutely believe David Bowie died and then we became unanchored from the timeline we're supposed to be in. David Bowie was the only thing keeping us safe. And then we lost Robin Williams and that was it. We were fucked right from there. That was it.
And there's more out there that I think have caused that too as well. But yeah, but yeah, I'm with you. Anyway, so there's that, everybody. I hope you got something out of it. I hope that we helped you a little bit. If not, sorry, we tried. But we'll talk more about this, of course, as the year goes on. There's going to be things that are going to pop up and threaten us, and we'll fight back as best we can and talk about it.
And hopefully we'll have some wins, because we have had some wins the last week or two in the. Yep. So let's just.
Yeah, I think ultimately truth and I don't want to say justice in the American way, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. But that's not what I wanted to say.
Martin Luther. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Truth and passion and beautiful love is always going to prevail in my personal thought process. So,
yeah,
and that's where.
And Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I'm paraphrasing, that in the grand scheme of things, the universe tilts toward justice or curves toward justice, something like that, in the long term. So, I mean, might not happen in my lifetime at this point, but I'm hoping for the young ones.
Yeah, me too. All right, everybody. Well, one of the things that is going to help you all navigate and help indies get away from these evil corporations and billionaires is learning as readers what to do as much as authors. And tonight, Courtney Cannon, CL Cannon, is going to take you on a journey to how you as a reader can help independent authors. So here's the marketing tip for this month.
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another monthly marketing tip. I've talked a bit in the past about setting up a direct sales store for your author business. And today I want to talk to you about actually training your readers to buy from your direct sales channels, because a store really isn't much use if nobody's buying from it. The first thing you need to do is optimize your store to give your readers the best shopping and checkout experience possible. Is it easy to find the items? Are they searchable? Are they priced appropriately? Does the site show up and work well on all your devices and all browsers? How easy is it to enter their customer information? Are your shipping and return policies easy to find and understand? Can they use their favorite payment method? And are there one-click options to pay? All of these things are important because you will lose potential sales if your store is not as easy to purchase from as a major platform like Amazon or Barnes & Noble. I recommend testing all these things before you go on to the next step, which is announcing your store to your audience. Let them know where it's located, what products they can find there, and how much buying directly means to you as an author. It's very unlikely that someone's going to stumble upon your store with no advertising, and even more unlikely that they would actually buy something because they just don't trust it yet. So you have to build that trust with them. So tell the world about your store. Post a link on your social media, in your groups, put it in your link in bio. Make a video to highlight a product from your store. Integrate your store with any social apps that allow you to connect to shop. And don't forget to announce your store to your newsletter subscribers, because they are the readers who are most likely to buy something from you. They're going to probably be your first patrons. Highlight some of your favorite items, even if that's just a book. Make it sound special. Then make the emotional connection with your readers by telling them how direct sales benefit you as an author by allowing you to keep more of your profits, and inform them that you can then pass on those savings to them with exclusives like signed editions, extras like bookmarks, stickers, or even thank you cards. It's that personal touch that is going to get someone to buy from you. I've talked a lot about providing value to your readers, and exclusives are an excellent way to do that while also making more by selling directly to the consumer. Here's an example. You can sell a book that's only available via your website. Or if you don't want to cut off all the other sale channels completely or indefinitely, you can make early sales on your site, so it's the only place to get that book for the first few months of publication. This is where your fans are going to come in, and they're going to make those first sales. You can also offer special editions or products which are available for direct purchase only. This could be stickers, bookmarks, or just a special nice edition of the book. Another way to make direct sales more appealing to readers is by bundling. That can be bundling a series or bundling by edition. For example, putting books like 1 through 3, 1 through 6 in a series and bundling them together and kind of prorating the price so that when they buy them together, they're actually saving money. But because they're actually getting them on your store, you're actually making more money than if they had bought them as a bundle on, say, Amazon, or bought them individually on Amazon. Also, bundling by edition. So this means like you would include like the ebook or the audiobook or maybe both when someone buys the paperback. And that actually increases the product's value in the eyes of the consumer, but it doesn't significantly raise the production cost for yourself. So you're actually usually making money. So you could sell a paperback for $50 because it includes all the other stuff with it. Even put in maybe a bookmark or something, but you're still not significantly raising the price. It's increasing the appeal for the reader, but it's not having a strain on your pocketbook. Another way to kickstart sales is to host a small giveaway. Make it a competition out of it by telling your readers that the first person to buy from your store gets a gift card or a special add-on like an art print or a sticker or even like a signed message from you. You can also expand this to like the first 5 people who want to buy a certain dollar amount from your store. This will get multiple people racing to your site to be the first ones to purchase. And that usually ends up being multiple sales for you. You can also do this with a coupon. You can do like a buy one, get one half off, get 25% off when you buy a certain number of items. The possibilities for coupons are limited only to your imagination, but everyone loves a good deal. Of course, you can also use paid advertisements to drive traffic to your store. This might not be the most cost-effective way to do things, but if you're good at ad targeting or you can hire someone who is, this can be a great way to get sales. I won't go too much into that method because I don't really use ads myself, so I'm not an expert in it. I don't like to give advice on things I'm not an expert in. And I just think that method is probably something that is more akin to someone who has been in the business longer and has the resources to do that. Most indie authors, especially when they're starting out, don't really have the funds to sink into the dollar amount of ads that you need to be successful with that. And that's okay. There's plenty of other ways to get people to your store. One last thing to consider when promoting your store is to be very intentional when you market your books. Don't be afraid to include the direct sales link with your other retail links. Include the link in the back matter of your books, on your postcards, on your business cards, on your signing banners, or any other in-person marketing materials. Feature your store prominently on your website, on the front page, somewhere where it's easy to find. Include direct links inside your book info pages on your website and put them right there along with your standard retail links. So you can even put them before them because you prefer them to buy them there. I'll show you some examples of that. In other words, just normalize the direct store option. The more times a reader sees that option, the more they'll accept it as a valid buying platform. Okay, that's my marketing tip for March. I hope it gets you some ideas on how to train your readers to buy direct and make your store successful. As always, I'm happy to answer any of your questions about today's tip or marketing in general. You can email me at info@fiction-atlas.com with your questions or check me out on the websites that are listed below. I hope you have a lovely month and I will see you next time. Bye.
As always, thank you to CL Cannon for that awesome marketing tip. And yeah, we're giving you avenues here. So take them. And she's got some great advice there. And thank you again, Courtney. That was awesome. All right.
Y'all ready to... Fabulous. I love her so much.
Y'all ready to have some fun? Y'all ready to possibly make some money? Yes. I have an opportunity for you tonight. Are you an amateur sleuth? Are you somebody who watches true crime shows or crime things and goes, oh, I figured it out. I know who did it. I know what's going on. Yes. Well, there's a new interactive show that's coming to the Revel Network very, very soon, in which you will be able to, one viewer will be lucky enough to win $100,000 for solving the mystery behind the Dream Crusher. And here is a little trailer that just dropped for that show.
I feel like life really has a way of crushing dreams. I wrote this album in a way to overcome that. Even though things don't work out, you can still move forward and be resilient. I'm just really excited for everyone to hear it.
If all my dreams come true.
You don't think that you've been in California too long?
I'm not having this conversation. You love Mass. I live anywhere but Mass.
The single's coming out soon. Everyone who has doubted you is going to hang their head.
The songs are pretty much diary entries of my life right now.
This isn't what I signed up for. You promised me things would be different. You promised me. I beat you to it.
I have to tell you something. Gwen Thompson was found dead this morning.
How?
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. This is going to be a frenzy. We need the names of everyone who interacted with her last night.
Already working on it. Getting security footage from the venue.
Everything that she worked for was for nothing.
You know, if this is the last record that I ever make, then it'll be okay because I've given everything to it.
You can crush my heart beneath your boot, no matter what you do to me, I've been through it. I beat you to it.
I think Dream Crusher is going to change everything.
Yes, this is Dream Crusher. It is a brand new show from the creator and director Gavin Michael Booth, who's best known for Blumhouse's 15 and Last Call. Dream Crusher immerses viewers in the final hours of rising pop star Gwen as Gwen prepares for the release of her latest album, Dream Crusher. Her career milestone turns tragic when she is found dead on the album's release day. Other key cast members include Jennifer America, Kimberly Fogelgren, Damien Chapanilla, and Mary Purcell. I probably butchered all of those names. This is an innovative series that allows viewers to step into the role of investigator, solving Gwen's murder and uncovering clues embedded in each episode and bonus hints scattered in the real world. Those who crack the case will be entered for a chance to win a $100,000 prize. As someone who loves murder mystery series and true crime podcasts, it was a thrill to build this world of Dream Crusher. Creating reward meant constantly thinking outside the box, which is where I feel most alive as a storyteller, and I believe our cast and crew have created something truly unique for the streaming audience. I'm equally thrilled that the series release is finally around the corner and we get to share Dream Crusher with the world. That is from the director, Gavin. And the show promises to redefine interactive storytelling, combining the suspense of murder mystery with the excitement of real-world detective work. It is also the debut scripted series on Reveal, a free streaming platform. It's free, you all, so there's no reason not to go and check it out. It's also marks the launch of Reward Anthology series, which promises a viewer a prize for solving each season's mystery. Aspiring detectives can sign up to participate on the rewards website, which is rewardseries.tv, and I'll post the link up in on the description box as well. Dream Crusher premieres on March 18th, 2025 on the Reveal Network. Everybody go check that out. It's going to be an awesome, awesome series. I have had the privilege of getting a little taste of it, and I can tell you, it's amazing. It's really something special, and I think you all will enjoy it. And you know, hey, who doesn't want to win $100,000 for binging a TV show, right?
So fun. That is so like right up my alley. I love mystery stuff, trying to figure it. Like one of my biggest complaints about Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes books is that there's never enough in the story to figure it out. Like Sherlock has some arcane knowledge or something that is never on the page until he reveals at the end, and that always annoyed the crap out of me because like I want to figure it out first.
Yeah.
I want to be smarter. That sounds fun though. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it really does. And hello, Richard. Nice to see you. And yes, it looks good. Yep. And sounds pretty interesting. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really groundbreaking television series that everybody can check out on March 13th. So everybody go check it out.
I'm gonna be really interested to see like the storytelling aspect, like from a creator's perspective. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested in how they're doing this sort of logistically, if that makes sense. So I'm looking. I'm definitely gonna. I already have the tab open, and I'm gonna bookmark. I'm ready.
So y'all gotta be Vanessa the punch. It's gonna be difficult, I think.
Let's go.
All right. Well, something that's been very difficult for me to kind of bring everything crashing down to a screeching halt tonight.
I feel like we should have done the mystery thing at the end.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but you know what? This is the kind of thing that Bobby would have appreciated.
Okay, let's do it.
So I lost somebody that I actually knew. I didn't know him well. I've only had a couple interactions with him. I actually worked with him on something, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But Mr. Bobby Myers passed away. Nobody here probably would ever know who Bobby Myers is. But he is somebody who is very, very prominent in the independent film world, somebody who has championed independent film for nearly 6 decades. He was born in 1934. He joined Columbia Pictures International during 1950s, serving in Paris and Brussels, and eventually becoming the European sales manager. He later held executive posts at National General Pictures, Larimore Pictures, Filmaways Productions, Orion, and Village Roadshows, all great independent studios, playing a pivotal role in the international film sales and distribution. In 1981, while heading sales at Larimore, he later became president of Filmways. Myers was one of the key figures who led a consortium of international sales companies to launch the American film market, which is the premium marketplace, for those who don't know, for independents to sell their finished product or get funding to finish their product. AFM debuted that year in Westwood amid a significant rise in independent filmmaking and addressed the need for a way to facilitate film sales in Hollywood. He was also the first chairman of the American Film Marketing Association, which later became IFTA, which is the Independent Film and Television Agency, or Association, I should say. After serving 2 terms, he continued to be heavily involved with the association for 40 years, holding positions including vice chairman and sitting on the executive committee and board. He attended AFM annually, as well as the Cannes Film Festival and market. Bobby was instrumental in encouraging and shaping independent film industry landscape throughout his intensive career. ITFA president and CEO Gene Pruitt said Bobby was a trusted colleague, a confidant, and advisor whose insight and support mattered to me and all who had the pleasure of working with him. And I am one of those folks who had the pleasure of working with Bobby. I actually was part of my production company that I was working for in Hollywood at the time, was part of putting together a presentation for IFTA for the AFM. So they basically, it's one of those things where you see the intros and what IFTA is. It was before they got on stage and talked about it. It was one of those things. And I had the pleasure of working with him. And I sat in the editing bay listening to him go through things in his mind and watching him work a little bit. It was very interesting. I first met him at the Final Draft screenwriting conference back in LA in the early 1990s, early aughts. And then I play, I just was in awe of all the things I watched him to talk about. He was very hands-on in pushing the digital revolution. A lot of studios try to suppress the digital aspect of our business coming to fruition, and which is kind of ironic because now we're all trying to suppress AI to coming into fruition. But this part of the business was a change for independent filmmakers that was going to help them be able to make movies on an independent budget. And Bobby was all for it. He was somebody who championed that, and he was somebody who helped films that didn't have major stars in them or didn't have the mass appeal of things blowing up or love triangles or steamy romances, that all the things that all of these international people are looking for to buy and sell their marketplace. He was pivotal in showing people what storytelling can do and how the scope of storytelling can go. He was a very nice guy. He was ahead of his time. And he helped Hollywood bridge the gap with independents by showing them a way to sell to the European market. And now the world is global. I mean, think about all the films you've seen because the global marketplace has opened up, and the opportunity to meet all these people who are making films across the world is not just a niche thing anymore. It is part of our landscape and part of our subculture and our counterculture. And Bobby was a big part of that. And so he's 90 years old. I won't say that's young, but he lived. He had much more life to live, I'm sure. And he didn't stop. I mean, he was working about 5 years ago with the IFAT. I saw a video where he was at Cannes in 2017, 18, somewhere around there. So that's not that long ago. So it wasn't like, he retired and just rode off into the sunset. He was always championing indies and what they were doing. So
it sounds like he was such a pivotal figure in
AFM doesn't exist without him. And American Film Market is a huge, huge event that happened. It went from 2 days when they started in Westwood to weeks. Now, I mean, we're talking there's 2 weeks of this thing because it is so it's so pivotal for filmmakers to sell their product and get worldwide distribution. And the only place you can really do that, there's only 2 places you can do that: at a film festival or at AFM. That's it. For independents, that's it. That's all. That's where you get your distribution networks at. And so AFM is really important and pivotal. And he's the one who started all of that. So
that's amazing.
It was really
absolutely
cool.
left his mark.
It was really cool to put a video together showing all that, because that was really cool, and learning that history, because it's just another thing that I got to learn. So it was really nice, and it was really cool. I've been really lucky in being able to touch on a lot of these people and what they do and who they are, and get to just get a little bit of that sponge out to soak that in. So thank you, Bobby, and you'll be missed, my friend, and thank you so much for all you did for the independent film world, and RIP.
Yes.
We'll take a little silence for a moment. All right, so I mean, we actually got some time.
I know, because I went through that whole first. I was like, I have 2 pages of single space stuff to get through, so I'm just like.
Well, this is a great opportunity for me then, because for those of you who are following Going now, this is our last show for the winter time. This is our last winter broadcast, our last program show for winter. We transition into spring on Sunday, and we have an incredible array of things that we're doing here in springtime. I mean, it's just awesome that we get this opportunity to do it. We have brand new shows that we're going to be debuting. Page Numbers with Bob Magoo, which is going to
I'm excited for that.
which is going to tackle the numbers game in what we do and how we do it, especially as authors.
So financials and things like that. So like that, I am so excited for that, because Bob is so on top of that shit.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oof. We're real excited to present that. And then we have a pseudo game show-ish debate show called Trope or Not to Trope with A.F. Stewart, where we're going to present a trope, and then she's going to have a guest, and the guest can choose whether or not they want to support the trope or defend the trope or rail against it. And A.F. Stewart will then take the opposite, and they'll have a debate about the trope. So that is going to be an awesome show. That will debut as well very soon in April during our springtime. And then we have shows that are returning. We have First Time for Everything with Juliette Rose, and her second season begins. And that's going to start here in about a week. In fact, on the very day that Dream Crusher starts is the day that Juliette starts her show as well, March 18th. So that's going to be
a double premiere.
Yeah. And then season 3 of Spotlight on the Multiverse, which I'm real excited about, comes back in May, where I get to tell you all about one of the most favorite things I get to do every year, and one of the greatest things ever in the Multiverse convention. And then we have more red carpet events that I'm going to be covering and talking about. This Week in Indies, as always, Hit the Dice, Saving a Seat with myself and Brian Tan, where we do independent movie reviews, Working the Indies, where he and I talk about independent wrestling, and then a Conversation in Cocktail, where Venessa sits down with authors and talks authoring and all kinds of fun stuff and what they're about what they're drinking and what that leads to, which is always fun. And then we have Zero Means You're Dead.
Shenanigans.
We have Zero Means You're Dead with SM Hillman, where he talks about independent RPGs and role-playing games and video games and things of that nature. And of course, that leads us all to where you are now, Late Night News. We will be back for the remainder of the spring and summer. We're real excited about that. The first Friday every month, everybody. So come and join us for that. And we're gonna have a good time with that. Just to give you guys a little taste of what the spring will bring. I did a little transition, which you'll see at the very end, which will be, we have our little anime beginning that we do now. Well, you'll see the springtime anime as it'll fade into the springtime anime at the end of this.
Oh, nice!
So
nice.
I did that for y'all. And yeah, that's all I got. So
well, speaking of a conversation and a cocktail.
Yeah. Please.
That episode Monday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I will be sitting down with Tamsin Silver. If you like alternate history, fantasy type stories, she writes basically about paranormal stuff with Billy the Kid. I mean, there's other stuff she writes, but that's like the big one.
I was really excited to see her on because she's done a web series as well. She was actually directed a web series. So
yes, she's fabulous. I'm so excited to be sitting down with her. We always have so much fun. We have so much fun when we're hanging out. So I'm really looking forward to sitting down with her.
That's part of a double feature on Monday because at 7:00 Eastern time, I will be sitting down on 21 Grams with SG Tosh and talking for an hour as well. So that should be a really great conversation. Another paranormal romance author, urban fantasy author, and she's also a screenwriter, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well.
Cool.
That'll happen at 7:00, and then at 9:00, come back for a conversation and cocktail because that'll be awesome as well. And that's what we're doing. We're just rocking and rolling, keeping going because why, Venessa?
Because it's always time to go indie now.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you again soon.